Hey there, Planet Poke, it's me, deogenz, your host of Pokemon of the Week. And this week, we are going to the Victory Road area to pick ourselves up in the Unova region, a menacing Mandibuzz. From the onset, just looking at the way this Pokemon is designed sprite-wise, I thought it would be something of a special attacker. But it turns out, this Condor has a lot of clunkability and makes it very good as a wall. It's defensively powerful, mainly offensively defense, which means that makes no sense, of course. You have an offensive defense, but what I'm trying to say, and failing to, is that it deflects offensive hits. But your special defense is nothing to sneeze at, that's for sure. However, I would recommend you take the careful nature route and get the natural boost from the nature in order to get that heightened special defense. You're going to want to max out special defense to make sure that you can get the best of its capabilities, but this is a spread that you can go either way with, and I'll show you the next time in set 2 how I can differ it. In this EV set, I split it, the rest of the 252 into 129 between these two, and that's including the extra 6 that's left over. Now, when it comes to attacks, it's not going to be an offensive Pokemon. A wall is normally that way. It's a supporter. And it's tricky with Mandibuzz because not only do you have the 3 major weaknesses of Electric, Ice, and Rock being very prevalent in the metagame, but you also have the annoying entry hazards of Stealth Rocks being around. What you may want to do is have a member on your team that is swift to come out and maybe do a baton pass to get back with a free switch that is capable of using Rapid Spin to get rid of those pesky rocks. And then this bird can sit on its perch pretty and take a wallop from your opponent's team. So you're going to want to have Toxic, of course. You need the all-powerful poisoning move that will annoy your opponent to no end. A good combination with Toxic is Whirlwind. This way, you're able to quickly swap out all of your opponent's team, get a look at what he or she has, this way you can plan accordingly with your strategy, and plus, on top of that, if they're not Steel or Poison type, poison them as well. If you don't want to go the Whirlwind way, you want to take my preference of using Taunt, here's why I prefer it over Whirlwind. With Taunt, you'll never have to worry about your opponent setting up and boosting their stages while Mandibuzz sits helpless. Nor will Mandibuzz be ever rendered helpless by a taunt from your opponent. That's a common way to disable walls that are not well raised or poorly planned in moveset. An easy way to buckle them under is if they don't have any offensive move, force them into taunt, which only allows offensive moves to be made, and then they have to be switched out or they're just essentially death fodder. So Brave Bird is a great choice here because even though you take recoil, you have leftovers on your side, plus you have Roost, and it will be giving your opponent something to not sit around on. So once you've done Toxic to all of their members, you can attack. It's not going to be strong by any means with a 65 base attack and no EVs invested in it, but it's at least going to chip away. On top of hopefully Toxic, I don't recommend taking on Steel types or Rock types with a Mandibuzz. Of course, for the obvious reasons of something of a Stone Edge probably being prevalent, but also because Brave Bird will have little to no effect, and even though you won't get a lot of recoil, neither will your opponent in the damage area. With the abilities, I leave it up to your preference, and also your playstyle. I know that a lot of people in the metagame like to have the Weather Claws on, which, if I'm getting this right, I believe Weather Claws makes it so that there are no weather effects allowed. If it is the antithesis of that, and it is actually the reverse, being that Weather Claws means weather effects are on and normally they are off, then do correct me in the comments. As I said, I don't have a lot of time for metagame, so I don't know all the terms all the time. But whether you like to play with weather or not, it is up to you if you want Big Pecs or Overcoat. Overcoat is for those of you who will play in any conditions of weather. Rain, hail, sandstorm, or sunshine. You will get a great benefit from Overcoat, being that it won't take any damage from weather effects. So sandstorm, hail, no, you cannot disable leftovers. That's the main point of weather effects. If you haven't battled with them and encountered them in many of your matches, it will completely negate the effects of leftovers, making that item useless and your constant restoration of health kind of impossible. Unless you, of course, change the weather on your side, but if your team's not predicated on weather boosting abilities, it's not going to be happening. Big Pecs I like a lot more because I normally don't bother with weather. I think sometimes weather is meh in having to set it up. I don't really like dedicating turns to it. I rather attack strong with a team that's well armed with EVs and stab moves, along with some good supporting walls like Mandibuzz here. Big Pecs prevents it from losing any defense, so if there is something like a tail whip coming your way, it will not affect, not in the least bit, which makes this wall even more mighty. What might make this malevolent bird even more mighty is its different arrangement of EVs in set 2. Here I make a max out of health, a max out of special defense, and throw the extra 4 into defense. Since naturally Mandibuzz has an excellent defense, special defense still good but somewhat lacking, and its HP being somewhat of the most important factor in this game, because with walls, it's all about stalls. So the longer it takes for your opponent to whittle down your massive amounts of HP, the more effects Toxic will take, and it will be a double slap in your opponent's face when you use Roost to repair all that damage. Plus, you have leftovers. And if you are playing in weather, Overcoat is excellent to drive them bonkers because there's nothing they can do to disable your wall except with pure strength. And the wonderful thing about Mandibuzz being a dark flying is that it's astoundingly good against Ghost and Psychic types. So if you encounter those special sweepers, which they tend to be, Mandibuzz will disable them immediately by just being a dark type. So that is the sets for this week of Pokemon of the Week. Let me know what you think below. Which Mandibuzz would you choose? The more heightened HP one, or the evenly balanced out set 1? If you're a fan of Russians in indie games, check out my channel, why don't you? And remember to subscribe to Planet Poke.